Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brian with Games Under Pressure. Today I'm excited to be checking out Bloodborne on the PlayStation 4. Typically I like to do these videos and record commentary live as it's all happening, but with Bloodborne I can't exactly do that, and you'll see why. So in this video I'm going to do the commentary after the fact. So I have already played this, I've already gotten relatively far in it, and I'm just going back right now and doing my commentary. This game is difficult, and we're not talking about difficult like in a normal way. This game is punishing. This game is excruciatingly difficult. And to put all the difficulty in perspective, I have recorded the first 2.5 or so hours of me dying. Here it is right off the bat. Now, this is such a brutal experience to watch back because every one of these deaths just hurts you. It just hurts you because you get a little bit further than you ever have before, or you kill an enemy that you've never gotten to before, and then you die, and it all feels like it's for nothing, and it's terrible but fun, and you want to keep playing it. I'm going to shut up, let you watch this quick.
Pale blood. Well, you've come to the right place. Yharnam is the home of blood ministration. You need only unravel its mystery. But where's an outsider like yourself to begin? Easy, with a bit of Yharnam blood of your own. But first, you'll need a contract.
So here's one of the coolest features of Bloodborne, especially right off the bat. The most crazy, in-depth character creation tools you have ever seen. You can tweak your character until your heart's content. I spent actually about 40 minutes or so tweaking my character. That's why I sped it up here. You can tweak everything from shoulder width to the bridge of your nose and eyelash color and pupil size and pupil color, and then you can outfit your character with some really crazy glasses or pink hair. You can change your body type. You can change gender. You can do everything in this. It is so in-depth, you should have no problem customizing a character to suit your style. Here, I'm trying to go with more of like a modern Alucard because that's my gamer tag, so I want to fit in with that. Here is another little intro.
Now, let's begin the transfusion. Oh, don't you worry. Whatever happens, you may think it all a mere bad dream.
You found yourself a hunter.
So I think that's pretty cool. It's very nightmarish, very like fever dream-y. You don't really have a great handle on the story when you first start. It's really this nebulous, ambiguous sort of thing. Like, the guy said that it was going to be like a nightmare or a dream, and then you wake up and you see these nightmarish creatures, and you don't really know what's going on. And I think that's kind of cool because it sort of adds to the mystery. Now, I'm not finished with this game. I'm not even like super far. I have put a few hours into it. and I finished the entire first area, a little bit of the second area, and I can tell you that the story remains a little ambiguous, and that's one of the reasons that I want to keep playing. That's one of the reasons that I put up with this punishing difficulty, because I sort of want to see where this goes. I don't know if I'm going to be super happy if at the end of the game we find out this was really all a dream and none of this is really happening, and so I hope that's not the case. But here is the first enemy I encountered in the game, and guess what? It kills me. The first enemy. The first time they give you the stick to control your character, the first enemy killed me. So when you die for the first time, and trust me, there's going to be many, many, many more deaths in the future, but when you die for the first time, you are transported to this very interesting looking, I would call it a hub world actually. It's called the Hunter's Dream. And this is the area where you can do a whole bunch of different things. You can upgrade your weapons, you can repair your weapons, you can buy new stuff, you can sell stuff, you can fast travel to different parts of the world. But what Bloodborne does that Dark Souls did, that Demon Souls did, was really not give you a whole lot of instruction. They just sort of throw you, and it's like, well, you guys, you figure it out. We don't need to help you here. There is very little in the way of tutorials. Here, they're giving you the option to pick your starting weapon, some of your starting equipment. And I sort of regret picking the axe. It's a little bit too slow for my taste. You have to be really deliberate in some of your attacks. So if you're starting out, I don't know if the axe is the best way to go. But I'm making it work, and it's a very nebulous game. It's a very hard to get into game. It's sort of like taking a diving board and jumping off into a pool of concrete. Like, it's a tough game to get into, but there is this weird sort of sense of discovery that you experience as you're finding things out on your own, and it's a strange feeling because typically I'm more of a tutorial guy. Just tell me how to play, tell me what things do, and let me enjoy the experience. But in Bloodborne, part of the experience is just finding stuff, which is sort of cool, figuring things out on your own. There's no hand holding, very little in the way of this is what you do, that you go here. There's no direction, so you just sort of jump in. And if I look like I don't know what I'm doing in this part of the video, that's because I don't. This is my first time here. I'm really confused. I'm not sure exactly what this place is. And it's sort of fun to walk around and just try to find stuff and discover stuff. And as somebody who's never played a Dark Souls or a Demon Souls game, that's one of my sort of gaming secrets that I don't like to share. I don't know why I never played those games. I just didn't. This is a very new experience for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because you don't want to just watch me walk around for an hour. So we'll check out the actual gameplay right now. This part of the game is a little bit later on. There's a intermediary section between the Hunter's Dream and then the first part of the level, which you saw when I died the first time, and this. So it's not quite as quick of a transition as I made it seem. But I think this part is where you really get into the difficulty of the game and some of the mechanics of the game. So there are enemies like these, and you'll primarily fight these Amish-looking guys early on in the game. And you have a number of attacks. I'm using my axe right there, and it's an extended mode right now, so you get a little bit more powerful attack, a little bit of a longer reach with that. I can also equip in my left hand a blunderbuss, which I chose. It's a firearm. It's a little bit like a shotgun, closer range. So if you're at any distance, it's completely useless. I actually use it to get enemies' attention more than I do to kill them. So if you get in a cluster of enemies, you're done. You can't get away. Healing will be interrupted. So it's very, very difficult. And I find that if you pull enemies from the group one at a time, you can typically take them out fairly easily. It's just you don't want to be overwhelmed. These enemies are relatively similar in their attacks, but the different clothes on these enemies represent how much damage they can take. So that guy that I just killed, if you hit him with one pretty good blow, he'll go down. The guys in the darker coats typically take about 2 hits if you're using the axe. The game is a little bit almost like rinse and repeat in a lot of ways. You got to think of it almost as like a gauntlet. Getting through this gauntlet of enemies. The enemies all behave similarly, but it's just they throw so many at you, and there's so much that can go wrong that it's a very difficult prospect. Now, that lantern that I was just at, that gave me the little pop-up notification, that is a save spot. And in this entire first section of the game, that is the only one. They get around that limit of a save spot if you progress a little bit further into this section, so you can open a door that was previously locked from the other side, and then that gives you pretty quick access to the boss, which is at the end of this first section. But don't expect save points to be scattered around. Don't expect to be able to press pause and go to save game. It doesn't work like that. The trick to this game, and the trick to overcoming the difficulty, is not leveling up your character like crazy, although that definitely helps. It's about learning. And these are very hard lessons that they teach you, and they teach you through just incessant dying and incessant dying. You can see me pulling some enemies away from the crowd right here just because that's so important. But what you need to do is learn enemy behavior. You have to know how these guys work. These riflemen here, you have to have a pretty good idea of the range of their attacks. You have to know how these enemies move, how many attacks certain types of enemies take to put them down. And then you have to be very deliberate in your actions, because everything about this game, from start to finish, is made to make things difficult. So your movements are slow. It takes time to heal. Sometimes, to be frank, the controls can almost feel a little bit clunky because they're not ultra responsive. You need to take your time. You need to plan your attack. If you need to get away, you got to get away. You can dodge and roll and jump out of the way, but it's so plotting that it's difficult. And if you rush and try to do more than you're capable of doing, you're gonna die. So that's my tip to anybody playing. Just play it and play it and play it and play it until you know the enemies, you know how long your attacks take, and you can get through it then a little bit faster. And this was my first time in this part of the level, so I'm not super familiar with the enemy layout. By the end of this, which I won't show in the video, I knew every single enemy location. I knew their movement. I knew where I could find them. And you just go through, and that's what helps you. It just makes you a stronger player. Bloodborne is an interesting game because it is not a game that is necessarily fun, and a lot of people are going to disagree with that. What I would say is that it is intriguing, and the gameplay is enjoyable. Once you get used to it, I think it feels pretty good. But what is the draw of Bloodborne is that it is satisfying. You feel a sense of accomplishment when you get further than you had before, or when you kill a boss, or when you overcome that obstacle in your way. So it is incredibly satisfying when you finally get there. And if you're the type of gamer that likes a challenge, and you like that sense of accomplishment, that sense of satisfaction when you finally do something that you've been working so hard to do, then Bloodborne is it. But if you're the type of gamer that doesn't like that repetition, that that punishing repetition and losing an hour of progress because you hadn't come to another save point, or you don't want to invest the time to learn enemy movements or to learn your own weapon, this is not the game for you. Stay away from this game. This is not a game for anybody or for everybody by any stretch of the imagination. It's really good, and it looks good, it plays good, but it's not for everybody. So in my estimation, there are a few small issues with it. There's issues that I encountered early on. Number one, there's a targeting system in this game. You target enemies by pressing R3, pressing in the right thumbstick, and it can be really finicky, really finicky. There are some times when I've been looking directly at an enemy and I hit R3 trying to target that enemy, and for whatever reason, my character will just do a complete 180 spin around and really open myself up for attack, really open the character up for attack. And that's super frustrating. Once you target an enemy, you can cycle through different enemies, which is a cool feature, but every once in a while, I just like playing in an unlocked state. I don't necessarily like locking onto every single enemy. If you're seeing some stutter in this video as well, that is because there is a little stutter in the game. You can tell that there are some frame drops every once in a while. It's not an incredibly smooth experience. It definitely gets the job done, don't get me wrong, but I would love to see this game be played on a high-end PC at something like 4K, just get a really silky smooth experience, because a silky smooth experience is not something that you're going to get here. It, again, very, very stable. I haven't encountered much in the way of glitches or stability issues or anything like that. It's just every once in a while, especially when you're moving the camera back and forth, you can see it's really, really fast. You get some stutter. Overall, though, I think it's a good trade-off. The game looks really great. It's like I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit more of a plodding pace, so you don't have to worry about something like 60 frames per second in a really quick first-person shooter or a racing game or something like that. You can, a lot of the time, get by with some stutters here and there, but overall, that's something that I hope is maybe addressed in a patch. The game is a looker, though. I mean, just take a look. You get some really cool shadows, and you have this Victorian Gothic style art. And if you at any point in time said to me, hey, look at this Vampire Hunter D game, I'd be like, oh man, that's really cool. I can't believe they finally got the look of Vampire Hunter D down, and they did with this. It looks like that anime. It's really, really cool. It's a style that personally speaks to me quite a bit. Movement and animations are really cool. Each enemy behaves a little bit differently. What you're seeing right now, these enemies are sort of similar. They all look like Amish dudes, but you get some really cool enemy variety a little bit later on, and the bosses in particular are really cool. So if you're interested in seeing a boss fight in action, definitely stick around to the end of this video. But in the meantime, yeah, it's cool to just marvel at the looks of this game, because the art direction is so strong. And that gets into that sense of exploration that I talked about a little bit early on. You want to see every nook and cranny of this little world because it's so well realized. It's so fully formed. And it's hard to do that sometimes because there are quite a few enemies that they throw at you. You constantly have to be on your toes. Every once in a while, I had it where I didn't know there was an enemy around or an enemy was hiding or something. You let your guard down and boom, you're done. So you always got to be mindful of your surroundings. But I think it strikes a pretty good balance. You can see the really cool dog animations there. It's just a really sharp-looking game. It's a fun game to see in motion. So I'm going to start skipping ahead in a second here. I think that's a pretty good overview of some of the game mechanics. You got the heal, you have the light attack, heavy attack, the whole deal. And what I'm going to show you, there's a lot of time between now and the boss fight in-game, but I'm going to show you the boss, let you check it out. It's really a spectacle. I mean, this thing is so cool. It's huge, and there are these writhing like little things all over it, like almost like snakes, but it looks like hair and like matted fur. I mean, it's so cool. The design on this is spectacular. What's strange to me is that the difficulty of the boss is not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily match the rest of the game. I had a much easier time with this boss than I did actually getting to the boss. So I actually beat this boss on the second try, and I beat it fairly easily too. I never felt like I was in danger of having the boss kill me. It's a little bit of a strange but welcome reprieve. I mean, this game almost feels like this abusive relationship where it beats you down and beats you down and beats you down and beats you down, and then any little victory that you can eke out of this game, you feel like it's a win, and you feel like you're not going to punish me anymore, game. I got this, and it's a cool feeling. And this boss was, in my experience with the game, this was one of the first or second major victories for me where I felt like I got this. I'm actually making progress. I'm not that stupid guy that started at the beginning of this video that couldn't kill the first enemy. I'm learning. I'm a little bit more powerful. I'm a little bit more agile. And it's all that repetition. That is what it is. It's just that constant repetition, doing it over and over and over and over. Like I said, probably 40 times for me. And it's such a cool feeling. If that is something that you are interested in, definitely check this game out, because it is just brutal. Another thing that really deserves mention is the game's awesome score. The music in this game is so cool. It is epic, and it is oppressive, and it's dark and moody, and it perfectly fits. The enemy voices and the enemy sounds are all top-notch. They really convey this overwhelming sense of dread, and it really fits. So that's where I'm going to leave the video. I'm going to let this boss fight finish out. But overall, I hated Bloodborne for the first few hours. I hated it. I wanted to snap the disc in half. I actually twisted my DualShock 4 controller so hard it broke. That's how frustrated I was with this game. And I was talking to people, and I was like, I just don't get it. I don't get why people like this so much, why these reviews are so high and are singing this game's praises when it's so frustrating. And I felt like the controls sucked, and I felt like I didn't like the sort of nebulous approach that they took to some of the tutorials. But it sort of clicked, and it clicked about probably about 30 minutes or so before this boss fight, when I finally got to the area where I could open the door, and it's almost like a quick travel from the save point to this boss area. That's when it clicked for me, and I felt like this overwhelming sense of satisfaction and success, and I felt proud of everything that I'd accomplished, and that's when it really clicked for me. That's when this weird part of my brain kicked in, and it's like, oh, if you manage this small little victory, just keep playing, because there's going to be more. And interestingly enough, I never felt like doing this part of the level, or this part of the level over, was ever a giant chore. I always wanted to do it, and I almost got this weird addiction to this where I was like, well, I'm just going to try one more time. And one of those times you finally get it, and it works, and it's cool. So if you are the type of gamer that loves this repetition and loves a brutal difficulty, and you don't mind investing in this, because this game is an investment of both time and patience, if you don't mind that, if that sounds okay to you, definitely check it out. You'll find a deep experience that is rewarding beyond anything that I've experienced in the last few years in terms of challenge. If that appeals to you, dive in. You won't be disappointed. Really great art, really great music, gameplay that is fundamentally solid. Just an overall joy to play. So if you liked this video, please check out the other videos on the channel. Please subscribe. That's going to help me keep bringing you videos like this. And I want to keep bringing you videos like this. So please subscribe if you like this. I'm going to be... my PC's in the shop right now, but when it gets back, I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of PC stuff, so definitely check out the channel. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching.